Thank you for taking the time to watch this short video about the academic misconduct process and procedures. What is academic misconduct? Conduct by which a student seeks to gain for themselves or any other person an academic advantage to which they are not entitled or seeks to disadvantage any other student. It is defined as any action or attempted action that may result in an unfair academic advantage to one or more students. Academic integrity is a key principle underlying the university's award of marks and grades for assessments and exams. Our university's integrity is the reason we need to have a strong process in place for identifying and adjudicating misconduct. The intention of our academic misconduct process is to identify students and educate them on what they did wrong and how to avoid doing it again in the future. We encounter many different types of academic misconduct. A few of these are plagiarism, which is the presentation of work, ideas, or data of others as one's own without appropriate acknowledgement and referencing, including self-plagiarism. Self-plagiarism, which is the presentation of one's own work for more than one assessment without acknowledgement and referencing. Cheating is a broad category and includes examples such as collusion or working together in individual assessments. It includes sharing of work with others as an offence, which many students get caught out with. This type of academic misconduct is our biggest issue at the moment. Collusion can also include leaving exam answers in view of other students. Cheating also encompasses unauthorised material in exams. This can include mobile phones, calculators when it is stated that these aren't permissible. In closed book exams, this includes all types of books, notes on loose paper, scribbled in dictionaries, on stationery, etc. It also includes falsifying clinical or lab reports or other data as part of an assessment, and the unauthorised distribution of exam material, such as sharing questions from online tests with other students in the cohort prior to their attempt. It also includes the use of auctioning websites to engage ghostwriters to provide assessments for a fee, and also assessment mills. As you can imagine, we do encounter other types of academic misconduct as well, so this is not an exhaustive list. The academic misconduct procedure outlines the relevant definitions and describes the process for identification, reporting and recording, adjudicating and penalising of academic misconduct. It can be accessed by staff via StaffNet under policies and procedures and is publicly available to students and outside people as well on our website. If you suspect a possible case of academic misconduct when you're marking an assessment item, if you're not the unit coordinator, bring it to their attention. If, as the unit coordinator, you are not sure what you have identified constitutes as academic misconduct, you can consult with your DDLT or one of the Learning and Teaching Services officers. Err on the side of caution and raise the case if you are in doubt. If the finding is that there is no academic misconduct, the case can be dismissed. When a case is dismissed, there is no trail of the incident on the student's record, so there is no real negative effect for the student. It is up to the discretion of the unit coordinator to determine whether there is a case to answer from the Turnitin report, which is used as evidence when completing an academic misconduct report. It is important to note that the Turnitin report is only a tool for identifying misconduct. It is literally just a word matching service and should not be used in isolation when identifying possible misconduct. The Turnitin report will give you a percentage of similarity with other works in the database. Depending on the type of assessment, a high score may not be an indicator of academic misconduct taking place. For example, a literature review may include many small sections that present matches, but if they are referenced correctly, this is not an indicator of plagiarism. On the other hand, Turnitin may show a relatively small similarities score, say where only one part of an assessment, such as 1 or 2 paragraphs, are verbatim with that submitted by another student. In this case, it would be an indicator of collusion. Here I will show you how to raise a case for a suspected instance of academic misconduct. We think that this new system that has been introduced over Term 3, 2016, makes raising a case quite easy and intuitive. First, click on the Academic Misconduct link in the Staff Help section in the bottom left-hand corner of your Moodle site. This will open the Lodge an Academic Misconduct Incident page. In the Student ID field, type in the student's ID or name and tab out. You can then choose the student from the list given. You will need to use the student's Student 1 ID. If you only have the ID that starts with an S, C or Q, there is a link to the Student ID converter available there. Next, click on the Choose a Unit field drop-down arrow to display a list of units in the student's study plan, or you can enter the unit code directly into the field and select the unit from the refined drop-down list. The list may include both higher education and TAFE units, and will include all attempts at the unit, so please ensure that you choose the correct terms offering. Once a unit is selected, read-only files will display outlining the unit details in the fields pictured below. To confirm everything is correct, click the checkbox as per below. When the checkbox is ticked, the following incident details will appear. In the Assessment Type field, click the down arrow to identify whether it is an assessment item-related incident or a final examination incident. The final exam option is only to be used by the Learning and Teaching Office. In the Assessment Name field, enter the name of the assessment to which the incident pertains. In the Nature of Offence field, select the type of offence from the drop-down list. In the Description of Incident field, type in any further details of the incident and any other relevant information. In the Other Connected Student IDs field, type in the details of any other student that may also be involved in the incident. In cases where there is a similarity between two or more students, a case needs to be raised for each student. This is because we are usually unable to determine at this stage if there is an innocent and guilty party or if they have worked together. A separate incident needs to be raised for each student. The kind of supporting documentation we need uploaded includes the Turnitin report for the student and other students if applicable. We require this in PDF form. Other evidence may include emails from the student. In the case of auctioning or ghostwriting, screenshots of any evidence we may have regarding this, such as what alerted you to the fact a ghostwriter may have been engaged. Files can be added either by dragging and dropping or choosing the Add Files from the drop-down list. After you have added the supporting documentation, review all the details of the case. If you are happy with it, you can click the Submit Incident box in the top right-hand corner. On submission, you will receive an acknowledgement email of the successful submission of the case, and the case will be assigned to the relevant Learning and Teaching Services Officer. Refer to the Guide for Submitting an Incident of Academic Misconduct found in your Moodle site in the Staff Help section of the Moodle site for further information. After you submit a case, the Learning and Teaching Services Officer will review the case. If there are any concerns with the amount of evidence, or if they do not deem that there should be a case raised, they will discuss this with the raiser of the case. If there are no such problems, the student is sent an invitation to respond, or an ITR. As part of the ITR, students are directed to liaise with their UC to understand what the problem may be. UCs are encouraged to be transparent in providing this information so that students can form an informed response. If it is a case of poor referencing, you can explain to them what they have done wrong. You can give them access to their Turnitin report, which may have changed if they were the first person to submit an assessment which matched with a later submission by another student. The only thing we ask is that if there are other students involved, that you maintain confidentiality by not revealing the other student's identity, though you may want to prompt the student to think about how their work may have been possibly accessed by somebody else. Students are given 5 working days to respond to the ITR. Once the response is received, or after the 5 days have elapsed, the case is forwarded to the DDLT for a decision. Their final decision is either to uphold the academic misconduct, downgrade to a minor plagiarism incident if they meet the criteria, or dismiss the case. The student is then advised of the final outcome. The unit coordinator is also advised of the outcome and is requested to adjust the student's grade or marks for the assessment item as necessary. As a result of the investigation into the academic misconduct case that is raised, the DDLT will determine whether the student is charged with academic misconduct, a minor plagiarism incident, or will dismiss the case. Any incident of plagiarism may be treated as minor plagiarism rather than as a formal case of academic misconduct, but only if all of the following criteria apply. That is, the student has no prior record of academic misconduct, the student is in the early stages of their academic study at CQ University, which is defined as the first 8 undergraduate units or the first 4 postgraduate units, and the extent of plagiarism is considered to be within the acceptable margins by the unit coordinator and/or the Deputy Dean Learning and Teaching, with the plagiarised content being minimal, typically based on the interpretation of a Turnitin report. If it is determined to be a minor case, the penalties are that the marks are downgraded for that particular assessment item. The degree of plagiarism is considered when applying the penalty, and any mark awarded is to be based only on the non-plagiarised content of the work. Students are also referred to the Academic Learning Centre for academic skills support. Minor incidents will not constitute part of the student's permanent record, whereas academic misconduct does. To explain that further, when we say that academic misconduct forms part of the student's permanent record, this is mostly for internal purposes only. There is nothing on the student's testimony or official transcript to indicate that academic misconduct occurred during their study here, except in very serious cases that have resulted in suspension or expulsion, where a sanction is applied to prevent enrolment. The only times that a student's academic misconduct history would be released publicly is by request of the student under Freedom of Information for us to release such details to parties such as the Queensland Ombudsman or for law graduates who are applying to be admitted as a practicing solicitor. Why should we report and record all instances of academic misconduct? The main purpose of having these procedures in place is not to punish students for doing the wrong thing. We like to think of this process as being remedial rather than harsh and punitive. For raising incidents against students who are in the early stages of their degree for things like poor referencing, we can refer them to training with the Academic Learning Centre in an effort to correct their behaviour. It is always disheartening for us to find third or fourth year students who still don't know who to reference properly because at no point before then had they been captured for intervention. Also, by recording all misconduct cases in the system, all those who need the information about misconduct cases can access it. If a unit coordinator goes on leave after raising a case, someone else can pick up where they've left off. We can see instances of repeat offenders clearly, and we use that information to react appropriately. By following these formal processes, instead of dealing with academic misconduct informally, we are able to treat students with the same consistent approach. Sometimes in very serious malicious cases, this can involve suspension or expulsion from the university. We understand that some unit coordinators may be hesitant to raise an incident in case it results in this kind of harsh punishment. However, if we are releasing our CQ University graduates to the world after using deceitful methods to gain their degree, it does terrible things to our reputation. The types of misconduct that will result in these sorts of punishments would not be acceptable in workplaces. If students go on to further postgraduate study at another university after completing an undergraduate course with us and cannot use basic referencing skills, that sends a message to other institutions that we do not value academic integrity. The Learning and Teaching Services team has developed a quick guide to give you some tips for trying to deter plagiarism in coursework assessments. We encourage you to read the guide and adopt the strategies where possible. It is available on the Learning and Teaching Services Moodle site in the Tips, Guides and Resources repository. You can also embed ALC sessions and or content in your unit. Encourage your students to access the resources and workshops provided by the ALC in relation to academic integrity and referencing. Remind your students about academic misconduct in the lead up to assessment due dates and exams. Finally, here are the contact details of the Learning and Teaching Services officers. If you have any questions about anything relating to academic misconduct, please do not hesitate to contact us for advice.